tried to get him on last week, but I guess he was in Stone Harbor or Cape May. Turned us down, but we'll take him this week. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? Yeah, I was at the Jersey Shore with my wife's family all week. Where do people go? Where do people in the Bay Area go? Like Tahoe? Or
yeah.
Where's the big weekend getaway?
Tahoe's the big weekend getaway in the Bay, and a lot of people go down to Southern California or San Diego area, if they have a week or so.
Yeah, San Diego's so nice.
It is.
But you grew up here, Steiny. You know the deal.
Yeah.
If you go to the beach for a week, you got to do it. So it was great, but I'm happy, ready to talk with you guys. You guys still whining about the conference championship game or what?
No. No, I got to play a piece of sound from you that got me thinking. Look, the Golden State Warriors are getting older. Draymond Green right now is a free agent. Klay Thompson becomes a free agent next year. How long do you keep it together? How long do you not? What do you owe players? What do players owe the organization? Let me remind you what you said, because I want this to be the jumping off point.
You realize that the reason why the front office and the head coach preach team is because their personal self-interest, their ongoing employment is totally based on your one-loss record. I don't know when it was when I was in the NFL, but I realized pretty early on, you're an independent contractor working for that team. And as soon as you realize that they are only going to act in their self-interest and what's best for them, the better off you'll be, and you'll start to make decisions in your own self-interest.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. Basically, are you that cynical that like there is no loyalty in sports? There is no hometown discount that a guy can take for the organization, or the other way around? Because I found that interesting.
Well, I appreciate that, Steiny, and that you guys grabbed that from either social media at Ross Tucker NFL or the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. But here's what I would tell you. By the way, you love that little self-interest right there?
Mm-hmm.
I just slid my own self-interest in there.
That's
while
right.
Talking about independent contractors and self-interest. Let me tell you guys a quick story. You're going to appreciate this. So, I was born in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, and I was there until I was 18. So, grew up a fan of them, played for them. That's all I ever knew. Then you go to college, and it's like, okay, Princeton's my college, and this is like before the transfer portal and all that. So that's like, we hate Harvard, we hate Penn. That's my team. I chose Princeton, blah, blah, blah. I get signed by Washington. I make the team. Guys, I even put a Redskin, helmet logo on the back of my 1990 Jeep Cherokee. I was too cheap to buy a new car. I thought, well, first of all, I had student loans from Princeton. Secondly, I thought this might be my only year. I'm going to save the money. I don't need to get a new car. My 90 Jeep Cherokee is fine. I'm 22 years old. Well, so I put the helmet sticker on. Next thing you know, I get cut the next year. I have one bad game my second year, and I get cut, and you're like, oh, okay, so now what do I do? Life's not, you're not used to that in sports. You're used to kind of high school, college, you have a team, then you get to the pros, you have one bad game, and you're gone. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that guys can't take less, especially if they've made a ton of money. I just want those guys to make sure they're doing that because they feel like that's what's best for them, and that's what's in their best interest to take less to stay in Golden State, as opposed to some concept of loyalty or team, which that team is only loyal to you for as long as they can derive value from your services. As soon as the second comes where they can get someone to do what you're doing for less money, they'll get rid of you in a heartbeat. And by the way, they will justify it by saying it's what's best for the team. And it is. If they can get somebody to do the same thing Draymond doing for $10 million rather than him getting $24 million or whatever it is, then they would do that in a heartbeat, right? So that's fine. It's okay for a guy to take less, to stay somewhere if he's happy there, just as long as he knows he's doing it for him and not for other people. Because the team is not going to do it for you. They're going to do what's best for the team.
Well, Ross, I'm curious because you came into the league. Your first head coach is Marty Schottenheimer. You played for a little bit under Bill Belichick, even a guy like Greg Williams, who's been around for a long time. In relation to head coaches and the way that they speak about players, because someone like Steve Kerr has emphasized the importance, basically the inability of the team to win without someone like Draymond Green. When you heard a head coach, I don't know if you ever did, but talk about the importance of an individual, do you take them at their word for it, or is that just something that you kind of, it makes you feel good and then you just got to do away with it?
Really good question. I had 9 head coaches in the NFL and a bunch of Hall of Famers. I mean, you mentioned Gibbs, Parcells, Belichick. I think it probably means more when the coaches say it to the team than necessarily what they say to the media. I remember 06 training camp. There were reports about the Patriots trading tight end Daniel Graham. And at the end of practice, Belichick gathered everybody around, the whole team, and said, listen, there are reports out there about us trading Daniel Graham. Just telling you guys right now, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be on the team. Daniel Graham's he's staying. He's a big part of what we're doing here. And that was like, wow, because that didn't happen very often. And that showed, how much he cared about Graham, how integral he was to what we were doing. I thought that was really significant. Sometimes when they say stuff to the media, well, first of all, I think when you say it to the whole team like that, boy, your credibility's shot if it goes the other way. I thought it was really bad for the Titans last offseason when Mike Vrabel said, we will not trade A.J. Brown as long as I'm the head coach, and then they trade him to the Eagles on draft night. That is rough, right?
Right.
I mean, that's a bad look. So what I will say is, Evan, what they say to the media, there's always a reason why they're saying that to the media. And even if they tell you personally how much they feel about you, how much they care about you, how valuable you are to what they're doing, actions always speak louder than words, right? Every team that cuts you tells you how great you are. Well, then why are you cutting me?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that he really likes Draymond and what he brings to the table. Is he saying that? You guys have to fill me in more on the story, but if he's saying that to try to appease the fans or the rest of the team, or to try to get Draymond to come back without maxing out the money he can get, those things are all factors. I
mean, and we're talking to Ross Tucker, our NFL insider at Odyssey,
an NBA expert, evidently.
Well, no. You're just a professional athlete.
I know. I'm just busting your chops.
The issue is also around here is the fact that if you're going to pay Draymond Green what he's worth now, it's a figure, but you have to take into account a guy's achievements. So are you paying him for what he's done? I got to believe that comes up in every sport.
You can't do that. And I know that's harsh, but you just can't. I mean, contracts are for projected future performance, not for past performance. They've already paid Draymond for all of the previous seasons. They need, especially now that they got Dunleavy, they got a new GM, they need to be willing to make a decision that's best for moving forward. And I know it's not an easy one, and I saw what he opted out to be a free agent. I'll be really curious to see how much he gets and what teams are interested in him.
And, well, that's interesting you say that, Ross, because the first place my mind goes to off of that is running backs in the NFL, and taking it from the NBA to the gridiron. I'm curious how you view running backs right now, because someone like Dalvin Cook is trying to figure out his future here in the Bay Area. Christian McCaffrey is about to be age 27, a place where running backs generally decline. Austin Eckler is not really in a position of bargaining power with the Los Angeles Chargers. That specific position is one that everyone wants a good one at, but isn't always necessarily willing to pay for it. Do you think that that's something that is just unfair or just reality? I mean, how do you view the way that a running back is treated in the NFL, especially with the amount of past success a lot of these guys have had, but aren't necessarily getting rewarded for it in the future?
Well, I think it's the reality is that there's definitely a belief that that position does not have a big impact on wins and losses, and that position is not nearly as valuable as the other positions, and certainly there's a really high injury rate at that position. I wonder, though, a little bit, guys, with some of these things going on, Aaron Jones taking the pay cut, and Dalvin Cook was supposed to make $10 million. I'm wondering if it's starting to go a little bit the other way. Where the pendulum has swung too far in the opposite direction. I understand the Vikings' philosophy, which is that they think they can get close to what they're getting from Cook for $10 million, from Alexander Mattison for $3.5 million.
Yeah,
and I get that, but I don't know. I mean, guys, you were there when they traded for him. You can't tell me that Christian McCaffrey did not make the difference in the outcome of some games last year. Like, you cannot do that. You cannot tell me that. And you look at, some of the top guards, even guys that aren't the top guards, I mean, they're making $15, $16, $17, $18 million a year. They're making twice what the top running backs are making. I mean, I'm happy for those guys, but you're talking to a guy that started, I think, 25 games, maybe 21 at guard, and I wasn't like a top-of-the-line guy. But I got to be honest with you, there's no way I had a bigger impact on the outcome of a game than a star running back.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I just think, and look, I think offensive line's critically important, but who would you rather have on the Niners team next year? I mean, Christian McCaffrey or Spencer Burford? I mean, come on.
It's a coin
at
flip.
some point, I feel like we're going a little bit too far in the opposite direction. I think someone's going to discover that. I'll be really curious to see how productive Madison is in Minnesota and how productive Cook is wherever he ends up going. Because I do still think it's a pretty important position.
Yeah. Hey, Ross, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. Love your perspective, and enjoy the rest of the summer. But I got to believe you're gearing up to get back to work soon.
Of course, anytime. And, man, I get a lot of downtime until the Eagles preseason game starts, so I'm going to take advantage of it with some daddy sodas at the beach. But looking forward to hopefully talking with you guys a lot.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Ross.